if you know one of my patterns, it is a relatively small bag and I don't really have much space for my sunglasses, and I usually use normal specs. So now we have much better weather in the UK, so sometimes I like to have my sunglasses on hand and change it whenever I need to. And when I went to see my friend the other day, I realized that I don't really have much space in that small bag. So I thought what I'm going to do is to make myself a little pouch for my glasses so I don't have to take this huge box. And I've, I've decided to add a little connector so I can clip the pouch outside, like to my bag, so I don't have to keep my glasses inside. So that's what I'm going to do today. And I thought, since I thought maybe you have free time, you want to hang out with me, maybe you have some questions, and we can chat. So I have my tablet on the side so I can see if I can see any comments. So let me know in the chat if you can hear me and see me, because that's always the weirdest thing to do. Like, I can see myself, but I don't know if you can hear me properly. Anyway, so that's the plan. So what I'm going to do is to actually use a flex frame. I don't know if you are familiar with those. So it kind of like opens when you press it on the sides, it opens, so then you can slide your glasses in. I chose this size. It should be enough for my sunglasses, fingers crossed. I have a whole box of different sizes, but I thought I want to make sure this pouch is as small as possible, and all I need to do is to be able to put those glasses in. So I'm not planning to store anything else inside. So that's basically what I'm doing. And I have a little, I don't know, that's pins. I don't know what you call those. So I can close, because one side of that flex frame is open. So then I have to like put that pin in and close it to be able to actually use it. Otherwise it's very hard to open it, to close it, because then it's just can, fall apart. So yeah, so that's my plan for this afternoon. So let me know in the chat what you are doing. I already cut my fabric and I did a little quilting design on the front and the back, just for flavor, I guess. And I decided to pad this fabric slightly. So I used fusible fleece and I cut it, the fleece without the seam allowances, so I don't have to worry about the bulk. I'm using kind of medium weight cotton canvas, I would say, for this pouch. And if I sew it and fold it with that fleece, that would be that would create a lot of bulk. So I thought just keep it nice and simple. And I have this ripstop fabric as well in my stash, and I thought, as you can see, this ripstop fabric is quite thin and see-through, so sometimes it's not the best to use inside bags, because you can see the seam allowance underneath, you can see all those layers that you are sewing, and even though it is a ripstop fabric, which would be great for bag making, for lining specifically, I don't like that this is see-through, but it is very good. I think anyway, it's going to work really well for this type of project, because I don't really see inside that pouch. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. So I have all my pattern pieces ready and I'm just going to start sewing. I don't know if you've seen it, but I actually have a separate video tutorial on my YouTube channel where I show you how to draft a pattern for different sizes of those flex frames. I filmed it, I think maybe like a year ago. So I've used that tutorial to create my pattern pieces for this project, because why not? You want to be very specific about some measurements, especially for that closure, then you need to create your own pattern. And I'm sure there are some patterns available online, but I always like to create my own. So I'm going to first start with those two top trims. I'm using faux leather because I thought this color would look really good with this colorful fabric. There isn't really a reason why I chose faux leather, just because I had it in my stash. And even though it's faux leather, I could technically leave raw edges along those two sides, because that's going to be folded like this, and then I'm going to insert that flex frame once the entire pouch is finished. So I could technically leave those two edges unfinished, raw, just like that. But since this fabric is very, very thin, I thought I'm just going to fold those edges just to be safe. It's not going to add too much bulk to my pouch. So I'm measuring 2 centimeters from those two edges, and I'm going to fold them towards that line. I've added 1 centimeter seam allowance, so I'm basically measuring twice, doubled the seam allowance as a guideline. And I'm going to use my double-sided tape because I don't have an iron nearby, and plus I cannot really press this fabric. So let me know, what are you doing today? Do you have any interesting plans where you are watching from? Let me know if you like those types of videos as well. I'm kind of planning to go live more often this year, but don't quote me on that, because I do say that. I think I did say that in the last 2 years, but I am getting better this year. So we shall see how it's going to, how long it's going to last. So I'm just folding those edges towards that line, and then I'm going to top stitch just to hold everything in place. Using double-sided tape is always so annoying because I can never remove that cover. It always takes so much time. All right, so I've got that. Let me just change my settings, and what I'm going to do is to top stitch from the right side. I don't know about you, but I really like projects like this after finishing a major bag. So I just finished testing my next sewing pattern, and you can imagine how many samples I had to make while I was testing it. So I feel like sometimes making a project like this, nice and simple, that you can make it in an hour or, you know, a couple of hours, it's so peaceful. It's like this palette cleanser. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. But I always find myself making something easy after a very big project. Okay, so I've got those two. I'm going to fold those trims in half now and sew along the bottom just to keep everything together. So I'm basically basting those raw edges. I think I need to oil my machine and maybe clean it because it skips some stitches sometimes. How often do you clean your machine, by the way? I think I don't do it often enough. I'm really bad at keeping an eye. It's like once something goes terribly wrong, I usually clean it and oil it. I know, it's really bad. Okay, this is going to be my connector for that swivel hook, and I'm using that faux leather as well, so I'm going to leave raw edges to reduce the bulk, because otherwise I would have to like fold it twice, and I don't really want to do it. This is way too long, but I can always trim it down later. So I've got that. I'm just going to finish sewing this as well, just so I have everything ready. I'm going to baste those edges. Like so. And now we can start on that main body. Have you made a pouch with flex frame before? Let me know in the comments. I would love to see and hear from you. All right, sometimes I have to like think what I'm going to do next, especially when I'm live and I am not following a sewing instruction like now. So what I'm going to do first is actually baste those trims to the top. So let me mark my midpoints. I need my scissors. So do I want to like keep it top and bottom, or it doesn't really matter? Let me see. I don't think it matters on this fabric. So I'm going to mark midpoint along the top, just so I can line up those trims precisely. And I'll do that on those trims as well. You know what's always the most scary when I go live is that I make a huge mistake and then I have to like stop and rip half of the project apart. That always scares me the most. So now I'm going to baste those trims to the top, like so. You know, I've made few of those pouches before, like I said, like I think about a year ago, but I don't remember the order of construction. I should have watched my own tutorial, but I didn't. So fingers crossed, I'm doing it right. If not, I can always start from the beginning. All right. What I'm going to do next is to actually sew those two lining pieces. So I'm going to sandwich those trims like so. But before I do that, what I want to do for later is to actually mark the bottom of my pouch on the wrong side. I'm going to mark my seam allowance just at the corner so I know how to pivot my fabric. Because what I like to do is to sew those corners diagonally. So I like to just sew them like this. Like a stitch or two depending on the length of your stitch. I found that usually it produces a nicer corner. It can be a little bit counterintuitive because you think I'm sewing a corner diagonally, but it works. For some reason it works. I think it has to do something with the bulk of the corner. So I'm going to do that, and I think I'm going to mark it on my lining as well, just to be safe, even though inside the pouch it doesn't really matter that much. But let's just do it. I always love to find some new shortcuts and like hacks whenever you are sewing. Sometimes you need to take an extra step to make it, you know, a bag or a pouch or whatever project you're making nicer, so it looks more well done and not like a crafty, handmade, poor quality, poorly done project. So I'm trying to slow down with my sewing this year, and I actually started to make my own clothes recently, which requires me to slow down and think and do a lot of hand stitching as well, which I'm slowly translating to bag making as well. Because I don't know about you, but I used to rush everything before. Like all the projects, I just wanted to cut fabric as fast as possible and then sew it and have it done. The construction of this pouch is pretty simple. It's kind of like a zipper pouch without a zipper really. But so far the construction is the same. So I'm hoping it's, you know, it's going to work at the end. don't like that my machine is skipping stitches today. She's definitely need to be cleaned. This is pretty annoying. I'm glad. Maybe I need to change my, well, I did change the needle. It's fresh needle because I thought since I've made all those bags before and I was using much bigger needle, but I think maybe I need to change the, what do you call it? Pressure? Not pressure. Oh my god, I lost the word now. What do you call it? Wow. But since this is just a quick project, I'm not really fast about skipping stitches. I'll just go over them twice. All right, so this is what it looks like. So I'm going to put those pieces together now. So just like we are doing in the zipper pouch. But wait, first I'm thinking, should I top stitch those pieces now? I think I may, because it's going to be hard to go around since this is a very small project. So actually I will actually top stitch the top. Yeah, my machine doesn't like something. I can see it's skipping stitches. I don't know why. It's not the first time I'm sewing this fabric. I've made many projects with this fabric, so I don't know what's the problem today. Maybe I should use hump jumper. Maybe that will help. With those layers. I think that did help. I didn't have any skipped stitches on this part, so that's good. Yeah, here I have skipped stitches here and here. So yeah, after this live, I think I'm going to have to clean my machine because she's screaming for attention. All right, I'm going to put those two pieces together now. So first, I want to make sure actually I baste my snap before I forget. So I think I'm just going to put it somewhere closer to the top, like so. I don't want it to be too long, so I'm just going to baste it like this. And cut the excess. I think that's going to be good, because all I need to do is to just have it there to be able to clip it to my bag. All right, so let's put those pieces together now. So first I'm going to line up. I'm actually thinking, since my machine is funny, I'm just going to trim the seam allowance at each end just to reduce the bulk. Maybe it's going to like it more. because having skip stitches isn't fun. All right, so what I'm going to do is to try match those seams as nice as I can. And I don't know about you, but I'm not really good at matching seams majority of times, especially when there's like a different layer in fabric. And I don't, since this is a small project, I don't really feel like using glue or anything like that to hold it in place. I'll just go with the flow today. And keep my fingers crossed. All right, so I've got my external pieces clipped. Now I'm going to do that for the lining. I need to remember to leave an opening in the lining so I can turn the pouch right side out. Otherwise, it's going to be fun. Whoa. Let me just clip one here. I'm thinking, should I use, I think I'm going to leave an opening along this long edge. I always found it's easier to turn it this way and then finish it. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm just going to reduce my stitch length and I'm going to go around leaving that opening. So should I start at the opening? Usually I like to start at those seams and then just sew around. So I'm just going to do that. Just do whatever I feel like it. Okay, so I think I'm gonna have to reduce my... Okay, what I'm going to do is just along the top, anchor it and see first, because I always find that this is like the worst. Yeah, well, it shifted a little bit, but I need to change my foot to actually narrow foot because there is this trim and my presser foot is too big for it. I cannot sew that seam using the correct seam allowance. So I'm just going to try with my narrow foot instead. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to reduce the seam allowance. Okay, yeah, that's better. Usually when I'm sewing those places on a zipper pouch and I really want to make sure everything looks good, I change my presser foot to a zipper foot, because that allows me to get very, very close. What? Okay, I'm going over a bump again, so let's use the hump jumper. I'm gonna go backwards to anchor that connector. I'm leaving my opening. This needle is way too big for this fabric. But I don't really feel like changing it. So let's go with that. It's a very delicate fabric, that ripstop. All right, I got to the beginning. Fingers crossed I didn't have any skip stitches. I'm just going to have a look quickly because I don't really feel like turning it right side, outside, inside multiple times. I think that looks good. What I'm going to do is to just reduce the bulk at those corners. At least a little bit. I don't want to cut too much because this fabric frays and I didn't fuse it. I didn't interface it with any woven interfacing. And I'm just contemplating now, should I trim those corners here? I think I'm gonna leave them. So now I'm just going to try to turn this right side out and see what I've made. I should have a corner shaper somewhere to help me turn this, but I think, I don't know, I don't know where I placed it. Oh no, I see it. It's always fun when you have a mess on your desk. You cannot find stuff. Are you messy like me, or you are a very organized person in your sewing room? Oh, this is too short. Should I use my scissors? Should I be naughty? Pushing those corners, I always find so difficult on a thicker fabrics. So I'm glad I didn't fuse that fleece to the entire piece. I left it out of the seam allowance. That looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. Yeah, that looks good. So what I can do now is to close the opening in the lining, but before I do that, I'm just going to check if my glasses actually can fit inside. I think that's going to be a perfect fit. So that looks pretty good, I must say. All right. So let me just close that opening first, and then I'm going to install my flex frame, and that's going to be basically it. So usually I would close it by hand. so I don't reduce the amount of space inside this pouch. But I made this pouch slightly wider on purpose. Well, the flex frame is wider than my glasses, so that shouldn't make big difference, and it's just quicker. So let me put this inside. Maybe I'll use a pen to push it. Well, or actually I can use my ruler. There you go. Well, that was better. Okay, so all I have to do now is to add that flex frame, and now I need to find it. Where did I put Asia? Oh my god, I think it's one of those days when I'm losing my mind. My memory is not there today. Hi, good morning. I see someone has joined me. Say hello. Thank you for commenting. Where are you watching from? Rose 13. Okay, so I'm going to open this end and feed that flex frame through those two tunnels. That's why we left an opening on both sides. So whenever you make a project like this, you need to make sure this trim is wide enough so you can actually feed your frame through, because as you can see, you are adding it after you finish making your project. So finishing the project and then finding out that you cannot actually put that frame in, that would be a nightmare in my opinion. So now I have to just take one of those pins to put it inside. So you need to make sure to line up to create a little tunnel for like a hinge, like so, and then there is this little flap that needs to be folded. So I like to use something hard like pen or anything that's not fingers, because it's quite hard to do it with just fingers. And just close that like so. Here we go, and this is how it opens. That looks pretty cute, I must say. So let me just see. I've got my glasses, I can place them in. Boom, I've got my little connector, which means I can attach it to my bag or even my trousers belt loop or my belt or a strap or anything else that's, you know. And because of this flex frame, I don't have to worry about the glasses falling out, which is one of the reasons why I like this type of closure. Because if you've got a magnetic snap, sometimes magnetic snaps aren't that strong, so it's very easy to open that flap. But with this, you actually have to like press it on the side to be able to open this pouch. So even I can shake it forever, it's not going to, you know, nothing's going to fall out of it. So I know that my glasses are safe inside, even if this pouch like dangles outside my bag or a backpack. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this little demonstration. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I'm going to go now, cook a dinner, and enjoy the rest of this day. See you next time. Stay crafty, friends. Bye.